Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report. And when we first started doing this show back on our days on Facebook, one of the funnest segments, if that's a word, right? Funnest? One of the segments that I used to love to do is I would see like what people would write, and then I would give my own opinion. I'd give my spin on it. So that's kind of what I'm doing here on today's episode. Bleacher Report put out an article of 3 players that they thought that the Raiders should go out and sign after the NFL draft. The 3 players that they mentioned were Yannick Ngakoue, Adoree Jackson, and Jerick McKinnon. As it stands right now, at the time that I'm making this video on Tuesday, the Raiders have 1 open roster spot. Now, we know that they went out and they signed Gallup, Jalen Guyton, Andrus Peat, and they've been a pretty aggressive team. Antonio Pierce, Tom Telesco. Could they go out and sign 1 more guy? I'm going to tell you who the Raiders should and should not sign from this list here, and then if I could only pick one, I'll tell you which guy I would roll with. One thing, though, that I really want you guys to do is if you believe that the nation is family, that you don't have to be blood to be family, I want you to grow this thing, because the more people that we get to hit that subscribe button, the more free videos, the more content, but also the crazier shenanigans can go down. So I did just see we got some new subs, and I want to give some shout-outs here to some of our new subscribers. Shout out to Liz, shout out to Savannah, King, Blaine. I just want to say thank you for taking time out of your day to not only watch the videos, but hit that subscribe button. Believe it or not, it does mean a lot to Chugs and I. This is how we pay for food, how we put a roof over our head. And if you support my family, I promise you this, I'm going to bring commitment to excellence every single day. So here we go. The first player that they brought up was Yannick Ngakoue, and this is one of those trip down memory lanes, because if you remember, he was a member of the Las Vegas Raiders back in 2021 when the Silver and Black had Gus Bradley as their defensive coordinator. But then, Josh McDaniels decided to trade him away straight up for Rock Ya-Sin. And at the time, I didn't mind the deal. I thought it was a pretty damn fair trade where you found a corner that needed to stay healthy in order to be good. Unfortunately for Rock, was never really able to stay healthy, and I think it's one of the reasons why he just signed to a contract probably just a few weeks ago. Has had only 4 sacks last season in Chicago, and one of the things that I used to always say with Ngakoue was this is a dude that gets 8 sacks every single season. I will say that he slowed down a little bit last year, but also the Bears added a lot of talent at the defensive line position, so that took away from some of the snaps that he could get. In terms of why Bleacher Report thinks it makes sense for the Silver and Black to sign him, I'll let you see what they had to say. Bringing back Yannick Ngakoue, who was on the roster in 2021, would make plenty of sense. The 29-year-old had only 4 sacks with Chicago last season in 2023, but has been constantly productive in just about every other stop. He had 10 sacks during his lone season in Las Vegas and had 9.5 with Indianapolis in 2022. Ngakoue can be inconsistent as a run defender, but as a situational sack artist, giggity, he's one of the top options still available. He's already familiar with some of the Raiders' personnel, and he'd provide another veteran presence on the edge. So this is going to be the pinned comment here on today's show, and I want you to be the GM. B. Telesco, put his shoes on, and should the Las Vegas Raiders go out and sign Yannick Ngakoue? Give me a yes, give me a no. My answer after this YouTube ad break. My answer to this is yes, it does make sense for the Las Vegas Raiders to go out and bring in Ngakoue. Though, again, I'm not going to sit up here and say it should be a lot of money. I have said for a while, I want a Benson Mayowa type of role. Back in 2019 when Mayowa, all his job was, played 30% of the snaps, get out there on 3rd down. That's what Ngakoue could do. He is get him out there on 3rd down, get him out there in pass situations only, let him cook. Could be a solid player in the locker room, already does know some of those guys in there, was really close with Max Crosby, and I guarantee you Crosby would vouch for Ngakoue. Now, I don't know if he's going to be the player that he was back with the Raiders in 2021 where he had 10 sacks, but he's been in the league for so long that I just think people think he's a lot older. Dude's only 29 years old. You know what I mean? He could still play in the NFL for another 3-4 years and definitely 1 or 2 at a high level. If I was Ngakoue, I would look at what the Raiders are building right now, especially on defense, and I would love the opportunity to join the Silver and Black again. Though I will admit, he would not be my top defensive end that I would target if I'm going to try to go out and find another DE that I can pair with this defense. The number 1 DE that I'm going to look at is Emmanuel Ogbah, who's got connections with Rob Leonard. He's got connections with Patrick Graham. He's got connections with a lot of these other players already on this Raiders roster. So if you're like, all right, I pick up the phone, I call Ogbah, he says no, well, then I'm going to look at Yannick Ngakoue. After that, then I'm going to look at Jerry Hughes. I also talked about Marcus Golden and Tyus Bowser on a linebacker video that I did earlier in the week. If you haven't seen it, go check that out, because then after these three names, this is then when I would probably start to look at, can this guy play linebacker? Can he also play edge? Which is why I decided to throw those two names in here. Coming up here next on the show, should the Raiders sign Jerick McKinnon, former running back of the Kansas City Chiefs? He's kind of bounced around on a few different teams, played for the Vikings, played for the San Francisco 49ers. I actually had the opportunity a few years ago, right when I moved down here in Dallas. It was, 2017, had the opportunity to meet Jerick McKinnon, and I couldn't believe that he was the exact same size as me. And I'm like, that guy's playing in the NFL. That is bananas. Something else that's bananas, a good deal. And if you want to get your hands on the Raiders draft hats from this season, go to chatsports.com/Raiders hats. They got tons and tons of hats on sale, though I will admit, those are going quick. Chugs and I love this corduroy hat, which I actually just got this one, and it's fresh. I'm not going to lie, it's probably Alex's favorite hat that I wear because it just looks a little bit, it's a little bit fancier. It's a nice color. Chatsports.com/Raiders hats is how you can get your hands on that. They got snapbacks. They have fitted hats. They have trucker hats. They have, which I actually do really like, these salute to service hats. So to Gunny, these are 100% on sale. There's a bunch of salute to service hats that are on sale. The next hat that I'm going to show you, I'm going to be real. I'm not cool enough to rock this hat. There are certain people that are. Like, I could see Wasted. He could rock this hat. Chugs, no chance. Like, the hat that I would look good in is probably one of these. But bottom line, we have hundreds, and I'm talking hundreds of hats available. Chatsports.com/Raiders hats is the link. So if you need some new headgear, all you got to do, go down on that link down below. It's going to be available in the comments and in the description of today's show. Let's go to another player here that Bleacher Report believes that the silver and black should go out and sign. It's Jerick McKinnon. And McKinnon could absolutely add a little bit more depth to this running back position. For those of you that watched the show on live on Tuesday, I ranked the Raiders running back room as the position group that I have the least confident in. Telesco has also kind of showed you that he wants to go running back by committee, and it shouldn't surprise anybody because, he said it 2 months ago that he doesn't believe in paying one running back, that he believes having a multitude of running backs. So does it make sense to bring in McKinnon, who also has some of that AFC West experience, most recently with the Kansas City Chiefs? Bleacher Report had this to say: Las Vegas will likely utilize a committee approach this year after leaning on Josh Jacobs as an every down option for the last 5 years. It wouldn't hurt to carry another back into camp competition that will feature Dylan Laube, presumed starters Zamir White, Alexander Madison, and Ameer Abdullah. Jerick McKinnon would be a logical candidate for a couple of reasons. He spent the last 3 seasons with the rival Kansas City Chiefs and would bring some divisional familiarity to the proverbial table. Wow. He has also thrived in a pass-catching role in Kansas City. Adding McKinnon would give Las Vegas another option for the third down role and a little insurance in case Dylan Laube isn't ready to contribute right away. So that's what Bleacher Report had to say, and I like doing shows like this because here's the thing. Bottom line, just because somebody puts it out there, they don't cover the Raiders like I cover the Raiders. They don't cover the Raiders like other content creators do. And when you spend as much time covering this team from top to bottom, everybody that's watching the show live right now is going, if the Raiders signed Jerick McKinnon, that would make absolutely no sense. And I kind of agree. Like, yes, I would be interested to talk about it on the show. It would almost kind of remind me when the Raiders signed Ameer Abdullah, which I will say, if you remember when they first signed Ameer Abdullah, we went live. A few hours later, they ended up trading for Devontae Adams. That would be electric. But also, it would be like when the Raiders signed Kenyon Drake when they already had Josh Jacobs. I'll say this, signing Jerick McKinnon makes 0 sense for the Raiders because why am I going to invest in a position that I don't really feel like you're helping me all that much? Is Jerick McKinnon just not Ameer Abdullah? Like, Ameer Abdullah's better in kick returning game. Yeah, McKinnon might be the better pass catcher, but, like, you already have Jerick McKinnon. His name is Ameer Abdullah. You already drafted Dylan Laube. And, like, from top to bottom, I don't understand why Bleacher Report put McKinnon in this video / put him in this article. It just does not make a lot of sense. So I'm going to say no. The Raiders should not sign Jerick McKinnon. Coming up next here, though, should the Silver and Black sign Adoree Jackson? And this has been a name that I have brought up time and time again on this show. And when you talk about Adoree Jackson, the Raiders, they drafted 2 cornerbacks on day 3, DeCamerion Richardson, MJ Devonshire, one out of Mississippi State, Devonshire is coming out of Pittsburgh. Jackson played with Patrick Graham back in 2021, and it was by far the best season that he's had. Over the past 2 seasons, he's battled some injuries, and really not going to offer you anything in special teams anymore, but does have that versatility and that ability to play inside, outside, so the Raiders who want more versatility could do that, and Jackson would provide a little bit more stability to a very young cornerback room and would be able to provide more competition. If Adoree Jackson's healthy, it would be a good move. But can you rely on him to be healthy? Bleacher Report says Adoree Jackson would make a lot of sense as a post-draft addition. He spent a year under defensive coordinator Patrick Graham when both were with the New York Giants. He's also an experienced starter who can upgrade the level of camp competition. Jackson started 36 games over the last 3 seasons and did not allow an opposing passer rating above 100 during that span. He might not walk in and take a starting job, but he could push players like Richardson and second-year man Ja'Cory Bennett. I'll tell you this right now, he is 1,000% going to push those other players, and that's what I want. I want more competition in my cornerback room, and I do think that signing Jackson makes sense for the Raiders, especially because if you miss out on other free agent corners, like I know when Antonio Pierce said finding a cornerback 1 was a priority, and there are some cornerback ones out there that are absolutely still a priority. And if you miss out on those guys, well, then you could look at a dude like an Adoree Jackson as a cornerback 2, pair him with a Jack Jones, let them compete. But, like, I will continue to say if I can get Xavier Howard, that's my number 1 fit based on this team and based on the personnel we have. Stephon Gilmore, name up there. Steven Nelson, name up there. If those 3 guys all say no, then I pick up the phone and I give Adoree Jackson a call. And if he says no, then I'm going to pick up the phone. I'm going to call Patrick Peterson and see if he's available. I know that the Raiders' corners can be good. And I know that it's important to get some of these younger guys some of that extra playing time. That way they can develop and hopefully turn into a good young defense. The problem is, if it's week 1 and we need to win right now, outside of Nate Hobbs, outside of Jack Jones, I don't have any confidence in any of these other guys to be able to step up and provide solid snaps right away. So if you could pick only one to sign, because the Raiders right now, as it stands, have only 1 open roster spot. I'll be real with you, though. I would bring in Yannick Ngakoue, and I would bring in Adoree Jackson. If you told me, Mitch, what if you could bring in more than one? Those are the 2 names that I'd be picking from. Yeah, I know I got to move on from somebody, but there's some names out there that I don't think it'd be all that difficult to move on from. But let's play a game here. If you could pick only one to sign, are you going to go with Adoree Jackson, Yannick Ngakoue, Jerick McKinnon? Let me know down below. For me personally, this is how I would rank them. I'm still going to go Jackson at number 1. Ngakoue is going to be number 2. And then at number 3 is McKinnon. Bottom line, corner is a bigger need. I might make the argument that Ngakoue might make our defense a lot more intriguing, because then I would still hope that we would add a corner. But man, oh man, both of these guys on our defense, I would love to see that this upcoming season.